clatter of swords rang out. Steel hissed against steel, wood cracked against bone. Boys stumbled through forms while their partners, the risen dead, moved with a rigid steadiness that would not tire or flinch. Their eyes were milked over, their skin pooled drum-tight. The captain barked sequences: high guard, turn the shoulder, sweep, step in. A boy's blade knocked free, and the dead thing he faced did not chase the opening, only returned to ready stance. Mercy by command, not intention. High above, the long gallery threw a hard shadow over the yard. Caltrion stood there, hands clasped behind him, expression unreadable. Sunlight caught in his eyes like coins. "Where is Padrick?" he asked without turning. "I've not seen him today, my lord," said the captain. His voice was careful. Everyone's was careful here. The god's gaze slid from the yard to the low buildings where the living slept in shifts and to the fields beyond. "Call the boys to water," he said. "I will find my son." The captain bowed, and his shout cracked the yard. The boys limped gratefully to pails. Caltrion pulled at the unseen threads of the dead as he went, and they stopped as one, and turned, feet dragging in unison towards the pens. Caltrion left the shade and crossed into the sun without a blink, his shadow long, his steps a weightless glide. He already knew where Padrick would be. In the southwest field, a square of messy green angled into an empire of wheat. The garden was fenced with rough slats Padrick had hammered himself, more gesture than barrier. Bees thrummed in the air, the earth smelled dark and warm. Padrick crouched among tomato vines, fingertips dusty. "Look at you," he murmured to the smallest plant, its fruit round and shy under leaves. He smiled proudly at it, tucking a stray stem back against its stake. "Padrick!" Caltrion appeared as storms do over flat land, suddenly inevitable. Padrick didn't jump. He had sensed him coming, had already sent Gemma away. "Yes, father," he said, still facing the tomatoes. Then he rose, hands muddy to the wrist. "Why are you not training?" The words were without softness. "I was tending to my garden." Padrick wiped his palms on his trousers and found the gesture pointless. The dirt only spread. The air seemed to cool around them. Leaves recoiled, stems drew in as if wind had passed in the opposite direction. "You waste your time. You skip drills. You turn from what is yours. How do you hope to command an army if you will not even learn its steps?" "I do not hope for it," Padrick said, meeting his eyes. "I do not wish to command an army or to lord over the dead." The god's gaze did not waver. "One way or another, you will." Padrick's jaw tightened. "I only want to be human." The god's eyes, once bright as hammered gold, darkened as a cup fills with ink. He seemed taller by slow degrees, back easing toward the sky. "You are not," he said, voice gone cold. "It is in your fate to be more. You are my son, and this is how you speak to me. I should have left you for teeth in the wolf-woods." "I do not frighten you," Padrick said. He was not certain this was true, but the sentence felt like a stake set in the earth. "Train," Caltrion said. The word landed as command, and the garden held its breath. "I have been patient. This is the last I will remind you." He vanished so neatly that the bees and air did not stir. Padrick remained, chest tight, hands still dirty. He knelt and touched the smallest tomato. The plant quivered back toward the light. "I'm sorry," he told the leaves, and returned to the yard. The next day, he was late to training.
He had meant to be there. He had put on the padded jacket and strapped the dull practice blade to his side. He had even made it halfway down the track before the thought of the garden tugged his steps off the packed dirt. Just a look, he told himself. Check the states, turn the soil around the basil. 10 minutes, then drills. At the fence line, he stopped. Boards hung at odd angles. The gate was wrenched sideways, the rope latch snapped clean. Inside, stems lay crushed to the ground as if a boulder had rolled through them, tomato cages tilted in the dirt like bent crowns. Basil stalks were snapped. The sweet smell turned sharp and bruised. Gemma came up beside him, breath warm from a half-run. She wore her hair knotted back and a sunburn across her nose. "Aren't you meant to be at drills?" she asked, breathlessly, then saw the ruin. "Oh." Padrick swallowed. The back of his throat tasted like iron. "A deer must have come through," he said. The words were smooth, an old habit of easing her. They're clumsy when they panic. Gemma glanced at the fence. "Must have been one hell of a deer," she said, but she let his story stand. That was how she loved him. Honest, but not cruel. He stepped into the bed and knelt. The smallest tomato had been flattened, the delicate stem folded where it met the soil, the fruit pressed into the dirt like a heel. He cupped the stem gently. The little life in it shivered under his touch. "Not to worry," he said, more to the plant than to Gemma. He closed his eyes. He did not reach far, only into the shallow place where his power lay like a hidden spring. He allowed a trickle to flow through his hands, the broken stem knit beneath his fingers, the fruit, dirt-smeared, lifted back toward the sun. Gemma made a soft noise. "You're amazing," she said, leaning in to kiss him, a kiss that tasted like summer. Her hand touched his jaw with a steadiness that anchored him to the world. At the field's edge, under the ribboned shade of a poplar, a figure watched. Caltronian's eyes were very dark. It took one more missed drill to break what little patience Caltronian had claimed to possess. Padrick had run to the river with Gemma that morning, sleeves rolled, the two of them trying to catch minnows in a woven basket. They came back wet and laughing, hair stringing water, the basket empty. Caltronian stood in the doorway of Padrick's quarters when he returned, a dark cut against the day. "You were not at training?" the god said. "I'll make it up this afternoon," Padrick answered. It was the wrong thing to say. He knew it, and said it anyway. Caltronian held his gaze for a full breath. "Your afternoon is already spent," he said. Then he was gone. The words clung to Padrick like a shadow. He stood unmoving, unsure how long had passed before his feet carried him toward the garden. He found Gemma there. Her body lay on the trampled edge of the plot, half in sunlight, hair spilled like cut grain. There was no wound. Caltronian did not need wounds. He slid to his knees so fast the skin split. "Gemma," he said, and her name broke in his mouth. "Gemma, wake up, please." He gathered her, and the heat had only just begun to leave her. The power in him woke like a struck hive. It thrummed under his ribs, eager, insistent. It knew her. It wanted her. It was the same trickle he had used to raise a plant, multiplied 1,000-fold and sharpened like a blade. At once he knew it was his father's intent, to awaken his power in the way he had always refused.